We wrap up our discussion of the defensive secondary positions by talking about the West Virginia safeties for the 2025 season. What's going on, Mountaineer Nation? Welcome back into the Country Roads webcast, here to continue our discussion of the defensive positions here in the West Virginia defense for 2025 as we wrap up the secondary with talk about the safety position. That's right, several new names added here as well, kind of similar to what we talked about the cornerback spot there. Ton of seniors, a lot of upperclassmen, a lot of experience added to this group, and I think a lot of talent to go along with that experience. So West Virginia really sought out to make the secondary improved, and I think they've got the pieces that can do it. It's just a matter of if they gel right, and I like a lot of these guys we're going to talk about here at the safety position. But before we get into that, just a quick reminder, if you would, take a second, hit that thumbs up button, help us out with that crazy YouTube algorithm, help us find more Mountaineer football fans like yourself. And if you're one of those that hasn't yet, be sure hit that subscribe button, stay up to date on the WVU football roster, recruiting news, transfer portal news, game previews and game recaps for every game this upcoming WVU football season. And then, of course, if you want a little bit extra content, you can hit the join button down below or on the YouTube channel homepage. Get film reviews for each WVU football game, player grades, snap counts, injury reports, depth chart projections, all kinds of bonus content there. You can support us that way. But if you can't, the fast, easy, and free way is just take a second, hit that thumbs up button like I talked about there. We'd really appreciate that. And with that spiel out of the way now, let's get into it. Let's talk about the safeties here for the 2025 season. And as is customary here with our position preview series, we begin this by taking a look at the position as a whole using our CRW roster tracker, which we've used to track this roster all throughout the offseason leading up to the 2025 season here. And the safeties, as you can see, count them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 seniors at the safety position. Like I said, just like the cornerback position, heavy with upperclassmen, a lot of experience here in this group, and I think a lot of talent to go along with that experience in that group. A lot of these guys that West Virginia's brought in via the portal are really impressive players when you watch them on film, when you hear some of the numbers that we'll go through momentarily when we highlight each of these. And then some underclassmen that I think really have good potential make up the safety room for West Virginia. Let's talk about each of them, and then at the end of the video, I'll give you my projected pecking order for the safety position. And we have multiple redshirt seniors to talk about here. Let's lead it off here with Darien Lewis from Akron, which goes hand in hand with what I talked about when I talked about the corners. Devontae Golden Nelson, I think West Virginia got Akron's best corner. And with Darien Lewis, I think they got Akron's best safety. And if you look at the college football video game ratings, they go right along and confirm that. Darien Lewis, I believe, was actually the highest rated player on that Akron defense on that game. And additionally, he's been highly regarded in the transfer portal. Blip List, someone that keeps up with transfer ratings, had him rated as a 5-star transfer safety, actually. So I think you get a really good one here in 5'9", 194 Akron transfer Darien Lewis. Be wearing number 24 for the Mountaineers this upcoming season. And funny enough, he's going to play more of a safety role at WVU, but he kind of bounced back between corner and safety at Akron. Appeared in 12 games last year, started 11, 74 tackles, 3 TFLs, 1 interception, and 6 pass breakups. And the year prior to that, he had 75 tackles, 4 TFLs, a fumble recovery, and a sack. So nearly 75 tackles each of the past 2 seasons, right at 150 tackles combined. That's pretty impressive. And even you go back to when he was a freshman, as a redshirt freshman, he appeared in all 12 games there at Akron and started 9. So this is a guy that's been starting at the FBS level for 3 years now, and he's kind of coming to the power conference level now to try his hand here at, a little upper echelon of college football. But I think he's someone that'll fit in very well, and I'm super excited about the addition of Darien Lewis. Next up, we have another redshirt senior in Jordan Walker coming over from Chattanooga. And the thing that stands out to me about him, 6 foot 195, he'll be wearing number 4 this season. But what stands out the most to me about him is he was one of the first and earliest additions West Virginia picked up in the transfer portal. So that tells me he was certainly a priority once they, seen him, scouted him, and found him. They were like, we got to get this guy, made him a priority. That's why they went and got him as one of the earliest commits. And you can see why when you look at him on tape. And of course, when you look at some of the numbers, he's played in 43 career games, started 33 games. He has over, 140 tackles, nearly 150 tackles in his career. So another safety that can really tackle well. 4 interceptions, 1.5 sacks, 9.5 tackles for loss, and 9 pass breakups, all Southern Conference there at Chattanooga. So You really like what you see from Jordan Walker, and you love how the staff prioritized him coming to West Virginia to finish out his final season of collegiate football. And then we come to another redshirt senior who is potentially one of the most exciting additions, but also one that comes with the biggest caveat currently. And that's at the time I'm recording this. Full disclosure, I am recording this, probably 3, 4, 5 days ahead of when it will be released. So maybe by the time this comes out, this will be a moot point. But for now, he is one of the 4 West Virginia players currently suing the NCAA to get their eligibility for the current 2025 season, as they have been deemed ineligible. So we're going to see what happens with Justin Harrington. But if he does end up getting that injunction, getting eligible for the upcoming season, he is someone that can really make a difference. You see that in his length, 6'3", 214-pound frame. But really, if you go watch him, and what's impressive is he's played at the power conference level throughout his career. Oklahoma and then Washington. Now, Washington, unfortunately, he battled injury during his time there. But at Oklahoma, when you watch him play, man, he really stood out multiple times there, had interceptions in both of his sophomore year and his redshirt freshman year, even had an interception in his true freshman season when he played in under 4 games there to maintain his redshirt, and of course began his career at community college back at Bakersfield Community College. But since then, Oklahoma and Washington, so we're talking experience in the SEC and the Big Ten, and now comes to the Big 12, where if I think he can get eligible, he's someone that not only could contribute, but could be a big piece of this defense in 2025. So we'll keep an eye out, see what happens with the eligibility. But if he is eligible, remember the number 8, Justin Harrington on the defensive side, will probably make some plays. And then we have Derek Carter, which I think it's interesting that he has kind of moved to safety. When he first got him, we thought he was going to be a cornerback. I don't know if the plan was initially for him to be a safety or if this is maybe more insurance just in case Justin Harrington isn't eligible. I think that's a possibility. But 5'10", 185, coming over from Jack State, obviously has a history with Rich Rod, has a connection with a lot of the coaches on this staff. He'll be wearing number 13 here for WVU. But back at Jack State, he started 15 career games and played in over 35. And like I said, played at corner. And even back in his redshirt sophomore season, he was second team all-conference. Last year, he had 31 tackles, 1.5 TFLs, a pick, and a pass breakup. The year prior to that, he led the team and tied for 3rd in the conference in pass breakups with 8. So someone that's shown to be a ball hawk over his past 2 seasons at Jack State, now transitioning to play, more of a safety role, it looks like, at WVU. But with his history, with his coaching staff, and, his experience probably with some of this scheme a little bit as well, I think that maybe he has a chance to crack some early playing time for sure, even though he's transitioning to kind of a newer position, now playing safety. Either way, super excited about the addition of Derek Carter on this WVU defense. And then we have the final senior we have to discuss here at the safety position, and that's KK Tarnu, which, it's kind of funny when you look at both Tarnu on defense and Xavier Bosley on offense. They both transferred in from Jack State, but they came in last season, so they just were a year ahead of Rich Rod, a year ahead before then they would eventually reunite with their former coach here in their final season. And I think that's one big reason KK Tarnu decided to use that extra year of eligibility he had, because it looked like he was going to move on. But then I think once West Virginia hired Rich Rod, he's like, hey, wait a minute. I got some experience with this staff, some of these guys. Let me come back into the fold here and play one final season at WVU. And that could give him a leg up as well to potentially some early playing time, as he played in Zach Alley's defense at Jack State back in 2023. So you never know what could happen. But really excited to have Tarnu back. He'll still be number 14, 6 foot, 200-pounder. He's now played in 44 career games, 26 and 14 starts at the FBS level. Played in 13 games last year, ended up starting the final 6, I believe, for West Virginia once they kind of saw where he was going to fit at on that defense. Finished with 35 tackles, a sack assist, 2.5 TFLs, a forced fumble, and a pass breakup, and he'll look to build on that now. His final season in Morgantown, reuniting with his former coaching staff here in the Rich Rod 2.0 era. And then we have the addition that's come via the junior college route in Caleb Gray, who will be a redshirt sophomore this upcoming season. 6'1", 180 pounds, coming from Dodge City Community College, where he played defensive back last season as a redshirt freshman. Started in all 9 games that he was available for. Tallied 32 tackles, 19 of them being solo, a tackle and a half for loss, 5 pass breakups, and 3 forced fumbles. You like the 3 forced fumbles there. Sounds like he's maybe someone that'll come down and lay the lumber, hit somebody, cause the ball to be jarred loose, which you like that aspect of his game. Sounds hard-edged to me. And I think with Caleb Gray, you get someone that you get in kind of early into the fold and you can develop throughout his career, and especially, could have something waiting for him with a lot of seniors ahead of him. If he can stick it out here, get what role he can this season, he could be a safety that has a lot of playing time in the future as he develops under this coaching staff. And then we have one of the few returners at this position, another sophomore in Israel Boyce, I think better known as Jacob Boyce, 5'11", 190-pound safety, wearing number 7 this upcoming season. And he's a true sophomore because, like some other players we've talked about throughout this position preview series, he was good enough that they avoided that red shirt in the first season, ended up playing in 8 games, adding depth at the safety position. And despite not getting a lot of reps, he did end up with 11 tackles, 10 of those being solo stops, 2 of them coming in the bowl game. And I think he's someone that you can just see oozing with potential, can really be a special player throughout his career. And you guys know me, I go back to the college football video game a lot, but man, on there, he certainly progresses well and becomes a superstar, in his junior and senior season. So I'd love for, real life to mimic the virtual format in that aspect, because I think there is a high ceiling for Israel Boyce, and hopefully he's able to achieve that over his final few years here at WVU. And then we have redshirt freshman Jason Cross Jr., still wearing number 26, 6 foot 175 pounds. Good size, great speed as well. Native of Pittsburgh there from Bishop Cavanaugh High School. Like we said, redshirted last year, but was pretty highly regarded coming out as a recruit there. 3-year starter at defensive back there at Bishop Cavanaugh. So impressive that he started, throughout his entire high school career almost there. Was, of course, an all-state player, was in the Big 33 All-Star game there in Pennsylvania. And all 3 of those years that he started, 3-time all-conference player at the safety position. So although we didn't get to see him last year play a little bit like Jacob Boyce, I think he does have good potential as well, and it could be a good piece for the future for West Virginia. So excited to see now that Jason Cross has that redshirt season under his belt, what he can develop into throughout his career here at West Virginia. And then lastly, we've got the lone true freshman here at the safety position, and that's Julian Horton, wearing number 39, 6 foot 169. And he was a late steal for West Virginia on signing day. They flipped him. I believe he was previously committed to the University of North Carolina. West Virginia is able to get him into the fold here late in this recruiting class as he comes in from Maryland, where he played safety and receiver there in high school. Senior year, 41 tackles, a sack, an interception, which he returned for a pick 6. And also on the offensive side, had 3 touchdowns and ran for 2 touchdowns. So that shows you kind of some of the athleticism that he possesses for sure. Now, he's obviously going to take some time here, get into the collegiate system, get into the Mike Joseph weightlifting offseason program, all of the benefits that he has here at the power conference level to truly probably realize some of that potential. Maybe a redshirt season this year before he molds into that. But I do like the ceiling that we see here on the true freshman, Julian Horton, and that rounds out the pieces here at the position. Now let's see what we think the projected pecking order will be for the West Virginia safeties in 2025. And as we talk projected pecking order here at the safety position, it's a little bit hard to do here because of the caveats that we mentioned there, the main one being Justin Harrington's eligibility being up in the air. But I'm going to assume that, let's say he is eligible. Let's just do that for this experiment here to talk about the projected pecking order, because I think if he is, then I'm probably going Darien Lewis and Justin Harrington as my 2 starting safeties, with the 2 backups right behind them, Jordy Walker and either Derek Carter or KK Tarnu. And I think either way you spin it, kind of those seniors are going to be the guys you see get the most playing time at this position, the ones that we named there. Darien Lewis, Jordan Walker, Justin Harrington, Derek Carter, and KK Tarnu will be the 5 safeties you see get the most playing time here, if not the majority of the playing time here for West Virginia. And some of these underclassmen, we'll see if they're able to get their way onto the field. I think, honestly, I would put Jacob Boyce as the one that's most likely to see the playing time there, with Caleb Gray, the junior college edition, probably a close second, Jason Cross and Julian Horton rounding things out. But I definitely think those 5 seniors we talked about will see the majority of the playing time. And personally, I like Darien Lewis and Justin Harrington a lot, but let's not forget Jordy Walker was one of the first transfers that this staff went out and got. So, we got to keep an eye on him as well. And of course, Derek Carter has experience with the staff, as does KK Tarnu. So I think all those guys will see their fair share of playing time. But if I had to order it, that's the order I would put it in. But that's just my opinion. Would love to hear yours. Drop it in the comment section down below. We appreciate those interactions as we continue to try and grow the CRW community throughout Mountaineer Nation. Until next time, let's go Mountaineers.